Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate, the Round Ball Roundup edition. That's right, basketball is back. It's right around the corner. We're all getting very excited. This is a very busy time of year for every sports fan as football is getting past the halfway point and basketball is getting started up. We're excited to get it going. Myself with Zach and head coach of Appalachian State, Dustin Kerns, is joining us tonight. Coach, are you getting any ice on windshields up there quite yet, or is that not quite started?
We're getting close. We could have some this weekend. It is starting to get colder for sure. It is definitely fall, y'all. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Leaves changing at the very least. Are you guys getting some rain up there right now too?
It has rained the last few days. Now, before that, it's been incredibly beautiful. I mean, we just had incredible weather. But it is definitely, in the last 7 to 10 days, definitely turned a little cool.
Nice. Good time of year up there, though. I know the sweater weather is what a lot of the Boone residents prefer, I think.
Yeah, so first off, thank you for spending your time here. But how's life treating you up in Boone? Getting ready for basketball season, life in general, just how's everything going?
Yeah, all is good. My wife and I have been, next year we'll be married 20 years. And, I think a few years ago, we really feel like we found the secret to marriage, right? We go out to dinner twice a week. She goes on Wednesdays and I go on Fridays. And that was a joke. Yeah.
I was like, I think, is he going to say something more here, or are we clear to laugh? Because that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. My daughter is 14. She's playing volleyball. My son is 8 and into everything. And so we got the big, trick or treat going on this weekend on Friday night. My son is going to be a hot dog. And so he's got one of those blow up costumes. And so, yeah, all is good up here. We're excited to getting cranked up with basketball, and so all is good up in the high country.
Nice. Do you guys get into the occasional year where you do a coordinated outfit by the family, or is that not really something that's done in the Kerns household?
No, we used to. My daughter, being 14, I think, has grown out a little bit of the trick or treat stuff. But no, we did. I know one year we did Scooby-Doo. I was Fred. I know, we've done different things, each year. Definitely we'll do a coordinated outfit at Christmas.
Oh, nice. Okay. Very nice. And I know you're a big football fan also. How much of that got you maybe more charged up for this season as you guys get closer to tip here?
Yeah, I love college football. Obviously I love App State football, but I just love college football in general. It's just a great, there's just something about classes starting and football games on a Saturday and tailgating, and then there's great energy. And certainly right now I'm really intrigued with, why some of the teams that are doing really well, like Vanderbilt, Indiana, Georgia Tech, some of these, quote, non-blue blood football programs, Virginia, that arguably are not more than likely spending as much money. But then you've got LSU, Florida, all these, blue blood, quote, football programs in turmoil. So I'm really fascinated about the why, behind that. And so I read a lot about football coaches. I read a lot about, the football season. So big college football fan. I love it.
Awesome.
With I know like a lot of schools around the country do this, but I see it especially firsthand here at Coastal. Like before the games, Coach Gray's down there with recruits, just like letting them take it all in. Is that something that you guys do too? Yeah,
absolutely. We're down there, down there on the field. And certainly, getting guys up and their families and letting them see, big time college athletics, which we have in the Sun Belt, and seeing the atmosphere and seeing the fan base and seeing the energy in the stadium is something that we really try to do in the fall when, before their season starts, get guys up on campus.
Nice. And I know that I was up in the Boone area, obviously got the A on today for this one. I was there right at the tail end of one of the last more decent basketball seasons they put together. In my opinion, it was one of those ones where they kind of got left out of the tournament incorrectly, if you will. But then kind of went through this lull, trying to find the right coach, trying to find the right culture to kind of get the program back on track. And not just pumping air in your tires here, Coach, but it seems like you're that guy, right? We've got some big wins over the last couple years, some really good atmospheres, though. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've seen personally, both going in person again and being witness to on, the ESPN Plus platforms and a couple times on national television when, a lot of us saw you guys take down Auburn at home. What does that feel like to kind of be the guy who's helped bring this basketball mentality and this basketball thought process that we can be good up here on this mountain again?
Well, we appreciate your kind words. I think I'm just a small part of it. I think that our fan base, our coaching staff, our administration, our chancellor, I think there's been an investment in the basketball. I think that we've also, seen some improvements with some facility things. And so I think that fortunately we've done our part and win some games and get people excited and get some, really exciting teams here in Boone. And I think we really created a home court, atmosphere. We're 25-4 in Boone the last 2 years at home. And so, I think that we've been able to now, I just think that hopefully I feel like I'm just a great fit for App State and Boone and our community and things like that. But, certainly it's been a lot of work by a lot of people, and, nothing is done alone. Our players and coaching staff and support staff, and like I said, administration and student body. I mean, there's been a lot of work to get people excited about basketball, and certainly we hope to keep it going.
So just going off building that culture, with the transfer portal nowadays, everyone's left and right, leaving, changing schools. But it seems like there at App, you guys have kind of found something where, like, maybe not – you guys are still getting hit by the portal, but maybe not as heavily as some other schools. What goes into building that culture and getting kids to stay like that?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge for everybody. I read that Baylor – who won a national championship in 2021, lost their entire team last year. And so I think that our level, especially the sunbelt, which is filled with great players and great coaches, I feel like through graduation or the portal, we're probably going to lose our top few players every year. Once again, either graduation or the portal. I feel like, what we try to do is, really try to retain that good core group. And I think that we're certainly, our philosophy is recruit, develop, and then retain, right? And I feel like that our fan base, I feel like the environment, the vibe on campus can help, with retention, and certainly, the player development piece, all those things can really, help with, people buying into long-term, development and success. But it's a challenge for everywhere. I mean, no one's immune to it. I think that every school in the Sun Belt has been hit, over the last few years by the portal. I can't think of one team that has not been hit, and so I just think that, it's a challenge. But I think as we all, I know for us, we've tried to just do a deep dive into how we retain a good core group, and how we can keep adding pieces that just really fit our core values.
Yeah, I think you're right about everybody getting hit. I feel like and Zach, maybe you can correct me or remind me if I'm misguided here, but right after the season ended and the first portal aspect was open, I believe all first team, second team, and honorable mention players had officially entered the portal. And so it looked like none of them would return to the Sun Belt next year, completely decimating a lot of rosters. And I know that some did, I believe, return, take their name out of the portal. But I know at the time that was a big shock to all of us to see just how much movement we're seeing. Another little question along those lines. How much do you speak with and interact with other coaches to see kind of what they're going through, learn from each other, and go about this new landscape that you guys are all really having to guide yourselves through all at the same time as you learn how to do this every single year? It seems like it continues to evolve.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of conversation. I think there's a lot of roundtable discussion of, how, people approach it, how people, certainly, add new players. I think that there's a lot of conversation with how to retain. Like there's certainly, certainly talk to other coaches as well. I mean, us Sunbelt coaches in the Sunbelt conference meetings in Destin, Florida have tried to strategize together and do it right and talk about it. I just think that it's I think we've all got to realize that now college basketball became arguably the second best, most highest paying basketball league in the world behind the NBA. I think that before you could go to Europe and make, millions. You could go and be in a professional league in Australia or, wherever it may be, right? And you had a chance to make a lot of money. Now I would think collectively now the second best and second most way to earn a living playing basketball is in college basketball behind the NBA. And I think that when you really, really think about that and put it in perspective now, you can see why some of these things, are happening, and they're happening in all sports. It's happening in football and baseball and women's basketball. And so, I think that, it's still amateur minds, but it's kind of a professional model. Right. And so it's going to take some, it's still going to take some people getting used to us coaches and players, and there's going to be some trial and error by everybody, even fans, right? Like getting used to all this. And I think that's probably the one thing that us coaches, would really want is we just want clarity. It kind of keeps changing. It just kind of keeps every so often, every year we feel like there's something else changing. So we just want some consistency and a clarity. And certainly I say we, meaning that's a generalization as us coaches. But, I know for myself, we just want some consistency and clarity and some guidance.
Yeah. Like to piggyback off that point, like the kid from Illinois just got cleared today. He's 22 years old, got 3 years eligibility today. He's been playing professionally for like 4 or 5 years. Omer Mayer, who's at Purdue, has been playing in the EuroLeague, and now he's over here. If he was getting paid more money, he definitely would have stayed over there, just entered the NBA draft. So that's a good point. But also now it looks like G League guys are starting to get into the college scene. Just what is that like? Because I think that's crazy. There's like 24, 25-year-old G League players who are coming back to college.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about it probably to really comment on it because it's so new. And my understanding on it, those guys have not officially been cleared yet. Now, they probably, obviously, maybe will. And I understand the point of it. Like if we're going to be able to allow professional European players to come over and play college basketball, why wouldn't we allow professional, American players to stay and play college basketball? So. But I don't, this is kind of new in the last, week, like you've mentioned, Zach. And so I just don't know enough about it to really comment other than I think if we're going to allow professional players from Europe to come over, then we should probably allow the same for the G League guys.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Is there any kind of thought process that, if we're going to do these types of things, let's try and require players to stay longer at the college level before being able to jump to the NBA or any other league for that matter? Or is that not really, I mean, I know you guys as coaches don't get to decide that, but is there any, let's see if we can get the NCAA to work towards this type of goal so that when we put this time and attention into bringing a player in and developing them, that they, obviously it's not easy to always keep them, but if you do, you get to keep them a little bit longer type of situation.
Yeah, I think that, I guess my initial reaction would be, I just think the toothpaste is out of the bottle, and it's going to be hard to kind of, with just allowing the players to, move and go play pro or go to another college. And so I think you're probably seeing more, maybe college players staying longer because of just the financial opportunities now in college sports. But, I think that the NBA really, that's where it starts, and they're the ones that kind of ultimately, decides, if a player's ready. And, like Cooper Flagg didn't decide, hey, I want to go to the draft. The NBA gave him feedback that, hey, you're going to be the number one pick. And so I think that ultimately they're the ones that kind of, guide the players and agents of, or at least it should be, right, listening to the real NBA players and so or executives to, see where they are in the draft stock and things like that. So I think it probably starts with them, and then it's just a little bit of a trickle down from there.
Yeah.
Staying on that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you. Okay. Kind of shifting into this season. A big talking point at media day by a few coaches was the ability to get like quality games in the non-conference, which is resulting in them having to go on the road and things like that. Like here at Coastal, I think we have 3 non-conference home games. So I know it's tough for coaches. I know like Tom Izzo, when James Madison walked in there and won a few years ago, he came out after the game and was like, I'm not playing a team like this early in the season again. So has that affected you guys at App?
Yeah, I think that the entire sunbelt, I think we all have tough time getting games and getting home games. And so I'm going on my 7th season. One of the biggest ways we've been able to get home games is go on the road first and start our quote road series, and then just kind of stock some games. But I think it's a hard thing for all 14 teams to get games, right? If you just look at, some of the other leagues in this area, right? Like I just think our league is respected enough, good enough, that we're just not getting a lot of phone calls, right? Like, unfortunately, we're the ones making calls. Hey, do you want to play? Like, our emails and phone calls are not people calling us, say, hey, do you want to play? And I just think that that's a level of respect from other people in college basketball, to your point, Zach, about, Coach Izzo saying that. I think that our league has a little bit of that. And so I think it's a challenge for all 14 teams to get home games. That's part of the MAC challenge agreement. So we could get 2 like opponents and get 1, home game. And I think that's helped. Like next year, the NCAA is going to allow us to play another game, right? So we're going to quote go to 32 games, and they're eliminating the quote MTEs and things like that. As far as you just got 32 games, and so I think there's some conversations on going on right now as far as what's best for the league, as far as the non-conference goes, and as far as with that extra game. And so I think there's some really interesting ideas, and there's some, really good ideas from our fellow coaches. But I think it's just a challenge. I really do. Like I said, we have to the best way for us that we've excuse me gotten home games here is to go on the road first, and that's the majority of our stuff. We have had very few series that we've started in Boone, and I just think that I think that the majority of us are also in locations that are not easy to get to, which I think creates some challenges in scheduling, and so when people are always when you factor in scheduling, you're always factoring in the travel, and so we've tried to make it a point to play some in-state teams here. I think we're playing 7 this year. Excuse me. And so, but it's a challenge. I think it's a challenge for all of us, and so, like this year we open up at Central Michigan in the MAC Challenge. That's a flight. And so now we get a MAC opponent back in February, which is nice. Right. But I think that we will continue to explore different avenues for all of us to get quality home games. But I just think it's hard for all of us.
Yeah, I like how you think of the MAC Challenge, because it is, like you said, essentially the way that they've done it and structured it is trying to get like opponents against each other instead of, a top team versus a bottom feeder from the other league type of thing. Is there any thought process just by you individually, not necessarily as a whole, that like, hey, we like this, but why don't we rotate conferences as well? Like the Southern Conference is close and regional to the sunbelt as well. Pretty good basketball conference. I know you've got familiarity with that through players that have come to you or just, localized talent that you've seen. Would that be something that you just personally would be interested in kind of moving through a couple times just to see what works out in that?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think the SoCon is a tremendous league. Now they only have 10 teams, but they're going to 11 next year with Tennessee Tech. And so we're at 14, so I think with the MAC, there's I also just think our partnership with the ESPN and the MAC's partnership with ESPN, there's some connections there. And I just think the MAC probably has similar issues scheduling. And so I think that, this was a situation that was done by both of our commissioners, and certainly us coaches had, opinions taken. It's always great to get, a Division I home game, and then you got 2 games that you don't have to worry about contracting or do anything like that. So there is some benefit to that. And I think that it's, but I think, entering into a new alliance with the SoCon or, Atlantic Sun or Conference USA, I think that, the SoCon is maybe spread over 5 states, the Sun Belt, we're spread over 12, and so, I think that there's all, sorts of, and I think they've partnered with the Atlantic Sun, right? So I think every kind of conference has a little bit of a conference challenge going on. And so, do we go west to the Mountain West or something like that? And then you're getting into, additional costs and expenses and things like that. So, I think we'll continue to explore what's best for the league. And, but, I think it's a challenge. I really do. I just think it's a challenge for all the Sunbelt schools.
Yeah. So looking at this year's roster, you guys bring in Aaron Banks, who's obviously familiar with the conference. How important was that to bring a guy that not only you guys are familiar with, but he's familiar with you just by playing against you guys, scouting you guys. And we saw a lot of intra-league transfers this year throughout the Sun Belt. Do you see that maybe improving just because you guys know each other so well?
Yeah, this is the first, interconference transfer that we've taken. And so, I think that it was a situation, obviously Georgia Southern, we have great respect for, and we've had great games with. And so, Aaron was someone we were familiar with. And when he popped in the portal, we thought it was, certainly worth a phone call. And then just after the phone call, the conversations just felt like a fit, felt like certainly a need from us on the court with his guard play and shooting ability. but just felt like from a family standpoint, from how our core values are, just felt like Aaron was a fit, and so we really pursued it. And then ironically, to your point, a lot of other Sunbelt schools were pursuing him too. So it was kind of a matter of, hey, we got to try to get Aaron, or we're going to continue to play against him. And so certainly that was at play as well. And so we're very glad to have Aaron part of our program. He's been a great fit, and certainly excited for him this season.
Were there any players, Coach, on this transfer class or any transfer class that you've had that you had recruited, they decided to go elsewhere, but you guys had kind of kept in some type of contact, and then they either came onto the roster in the past or they did this year? Is that kind of a situation you've run across before?
Yeah, I don't think we really stay in touch with guys. I think that once people make a decision and they move on to a roster, we respect that. But I think when people have popped back in the portal, there may be somebody that we've recruited. And so, I think like Barry Dunning, for example, that went to South Alabama. He visited here when he left Arkansas. Well, he went to South Alabama. He popped back in the portal. Certainly I think we tried calling again, but now he's at Pittsburgh, right? But no, I tell you what, I take that back. Excuse me. He visited here when he left Arkansas. He went to UAB. We called, right? Then he went to South Alabama. I don't think we called this year. So excuse me, but yeah, I think there's some of that when there's, when they pop back in potentially, that you possibly revisit things. But, sometimes rosters changes, needs change, scholarships, all that stuff. And so, certainly it's kind of a, even flow of, just in fluctuation in roster.
So, also this year's roster looks a little more guard heavy, but I kind of see that across all of college basketball right now, just a lot more guard heavy this year, unlike a few years ago where it's a lot more big heavy. So do you think that changes the play? Does it make it faster? Are teams going to score more points? Just things like that?
Well, I just think that, typically we all going to play three guards, and so you kind of naturally have a little bit more guards on your roster because of just nobody really plays three bigs, right? I think that's probably difficult, and then you could always play small and play four guards, to your point. The way our roster was set up, we had some bigs returning with Luke Wilson, Mike Marcus, Andrew Ninjak. And so we really went out and just got, one big with Chad Moody, who's been really good for us, transfer from Alabama and A&M. And so, we really felt like that we really needed to get some older, experienced guards. But once again, you really, out of your 13 scholarships, typically you will carry at least 7 or 8 guards just because of playing 3 at a time.
Makes sense. Speaking of some bigs, you lost one for sure that ended up on an NBA roster in CJ Huntley. What was that like for you, going through that? Obviously a little bit vicariously through him, but, I'm sure he's kind of keeping in touch and you're getting to enjoy seeing one of your former players play some NBA minutes here. What's that experience been like?
Yeah, just so proud. I mean, Dominick, Zach, the reality is having a guy like CJ for 5 years, in 2025 is just really unique and special, and I think that, him staying here and proving that you could stay at this level in the Sun Belt and get to the NBA, I think is, really rewarding for him. And I think that seeing all his hard work and loyalty and things like that, just, it's the way it's supposed to be, right? He didn't have to transfer up to a bigger league. in a weird way, if he would have done that and not done as well, he wouldn't be on an NBA roster, is the reality. And so, because you can get exposure, you can also get exposed. And so, he was able to just stay here, keep developing, keep getting better. And, certainly, I probably talked to over 20 teams during the process. He had about 18 workouts. We had several teams trying to bring him out for second workouts. And so just a fit with Phoenix for what they're trying to build there. They did bring him out twice. Now, once again, some other teams did too. And so we really felt really confident. The feedback was good. When he went to Portsmouth, he played well. His interviews were well. And I really say this, and I said this last week on the Sunbelt Media Day, is all those NBA teams made comments about they enjoy when they're doing the intel on, draft prospects. They enjoy it's less work for them when someone doesn't transfer. They only have to call one coach. They don't have to call one strength coach. They only have to call one trainer. And so I think it helped him. I think it said a lot about him. And so because when you're one of those NBA teams and you're going to look to sign a second-round pick, you want low-maintenance people. You don't want a high-maintenance second-round pick. You want someone that if you need them to go to the G League, yes, sir, whatever you need me to do. You don't want some agent calling and, hey, why is my guy not on the in the roster tonight, right? And so I think that with CJ staying at App State for 5 years, being who he is, being a high-character person, said a lot about him and really helped him create some opportunities, ironically, because the NBA teams took notice that, hey, this guy's different. I think that the stat was told me that of the 60 players at Portsmouth, I think only 9 never transferred.
Wow.
And so now it's kind of like if you want to stand out, maybe you stand out by staying and showing that you're, able to, develop and you're okay doing that. I think that really helps CJ. I really do.
I mean, I think we saw a little bit of that a few years ago with Tavion Kinsey as well at Marshall, a guy who was there for 4 or 5 years, and now he's on the Utah Jazz. Or
absolutely,
he was, but it seems like CJ was kind of like the fan favorite. A lot of that probably had to do with him staying there for all 5 years.
No question.
But who do you think?
And I think it says a lot about his parents. He's got great parents. He's a great kid, but he's got great parents, and they just really felt like this was the best decision, and I'm just so proud that because it ended up being the best decision for him to stay, and it worked out.
Well, with him gone, is there a guy like that you think might be like kind of a new fan favorite, like a guy that might not put up the most numbers, but he's going to do all the little things that fans love and coaches love?
Yeah, I think we've got several of those guys. I think that, certainly I think the blue collar, community of Boone and the mountain people love just people that play hard and bring energy to the game and rebound and dive on a loose ball and things like that. So, fortunate with this group, I think we've got a lot of those guys that are, certainly more than willing to do those little dirty work kind of things and so I think our fans are going to really like this group. And I think they'll really like a lot of guys in particular. And I think that one great thing about App State is they really embrace people that choose App State, and so we've got guys that, want to be here and chose App State. And I think that they'll really embrace these guys.
Nice. Is there a name you could give us that maybe is completely under the radar? I don't know how much that is. The rosters are smaller. It's not like football where you're hiding a guy on a 70-man roster that, oh, yeah, we didn't pick him out. Basketball is a little bit easier to see all the names and piece it all together. But is there a name you think is going to jump up pretty quick and be somebody that the rest of the league takes notice of pretty quickly?
Yeah, I think like I said, I think we've got several guys. I think that Andrew Ninjok is a candidate for that. I think Mike Marcus is a candidate for that. I think the league knows about Luke Wilson. I think the league knows about certainly someone like Chad Moody. I think that, Jason Clark, someone that's been in our program that has gotten better. I think that, Jalen Tott, transfer from Montana State Billings. I think Kaysen Jennings, Alonzo Dodd, KJ Vassar, I think we've got, a lot of guys that I think part of our strength right now is our depth. And so we've got good depth. We've got what I feel like probably 9 or 10 different starters. It's been, we probably need to find a little bit more separation, but we've got really good depth.
Nice. Go ahead, Zach.
I was just gonna say, like, you travel. You've been in the league for a while now, so just like when you're traveling, what's your favorite like road gym to go to? Whether that's the arena, the atmosphere, maybe just the city that you're in general, just anything like that.
That's a great question. Ironically, this is my 7th year in the league. I'd never been to Louisiana until last year. We'd never played at Louisiana. I think that I'm looking at these logos. I think that, certainly we've been to the East more, so I'll just, go there, right? We haven't given to everybody in the West all the time. Myrtle Beach is always a great place to come to, and warm weather, and great food, and we usually stay on the ocean. Huntington's got a great downtown. They got some. We've enjoyed staying downtown, and they got a great fan base. Yeah, James Madison, I think's facilities and arenas, it's better. They're better than some ACC and maybe SEC. And so, Harrisonburg's, nice little town, and seems like a great community there, and their facilities are just fabulous. Georgia Southern with the rivalry and things like that, it's always, energetic and things to go down. They've got a place down there that we just love, their breakfast biscuits and things like that. And, but just the atmosphere and the rivalry and the energy in the building is always a fun place to go. Atlanta, great city. They've got a beautiful arena as well. I think Georgia State's facility is really impressive. And it's just a different vibe, right? Like going to Atlanta is way different than going to, other places in this league. So it's just kind of energizes you. We've always taken our team to Martin Luther King's birthplace and done some things that you can do there, as a team that maybe you can't do other places. And then Old Dominion's facility, I think, is, maybe the best in the league. I think whoever designed Chartway Arena did a phenomenal job. There's 16 suites. There's not a bad seat in the arena. It looks like an NBA arena from the outside. And Norfolk's great city. You've got the bay there. You've got just another different vibe there. And then the hotel is literally right across the street from the arena, and you literally, walk over. And so everybody, certainly been to a lot of those places in the East a lot, and so, everybody's kind of got their own unique, special thing about this league, and I think that the fan bases and the pride and all of the sunbelt schools is really impressive.
Nice. Well, you did make mention of a couple places to eat on the road. When you send your wife out to go to dinner on Wednesdays and you do your own thing, what are the places you guys go to there in Boone that you really prefer? Because I think there'll be some people listening to this from other teams and some other fan bases that might want to know where the good places are to eat there.
A lot of great places. We are very fortunate here in Boone, and I think Lost Providence downtown has got incredible pizza, some of the best pizza that, I really enjoy. You've got Casa Rustica's got a great Italian spot. The Peddler is a great place in town. And there's just a lot of good places. Comeback Shack is a popular spot. Now we've got Vicious Biscuit, the Wafflery. Those are near our campus, and so the local's a very good spot. And so we've got some really good places here.
Nice. I just personally got to go into the newer location of the Comeback Shack downtown, which was, I would say, after a football game, very impressed with how efficiently you can get in and out of that place, even with a long line. I thought it was going to be a forever wait. I was impressed. It is fast food, but it was still quality fast food, as Comeback Shack is known for. And again, now at 2 locations, one where you can kind of drive through, and then the downtown location where you'll have to walk up or park close by. And, sometimes that can be difficult to do in Boone on a football weekend. But, Comeback Shack, I'll agree with you on that one for sure, because that is a personal favorite of mine. And it doesn't break the wallet if anyone's looking for that kind of a deal, right? It's not too highly priced, so it's relatively affordable. You can get crazy. You can put some stuff together, but it's pretty nice to the wallet still.
And, they've got new sliders now. So you can get different sliders and things like that. There is a place in Troy's that has exceptional food. I want to look it up here so I can give this guy a shout out. But anytime we go to Troy's, I'm telling you, we talk about this place. B. Graves in Troy, Alabama. Outstanding food.
Okay.
Incredible. Our staff, we talk about it. We don't go to Troy all the time, but we are going this year, and I guarantee we'll be eating B. Graves.
Well, very nice. I'm gonna try and I want to get around to all the Sunbelt schools. Like you said, I've been to almost all of the East schools at this point now. I haven't been to very many of the West, but I have been to Jonesboro, Louisiana for sure. I think that might be it for me so far. So I got to spread some love around and get to these schools while they're in basketball season too, because I want to take in the atmosphere of each and every one. But and Coach, you know how hard it can be with kids and trying to do that with a wife and kid and let you off the leash there, as it may be, to go and do all the fun things you want to do. But yeah, I hope to take in more basketball this year for sure. Zach, any other final questions or thoughts for Coach before we get him out of here?
Not that I can think of. No.
Okay.
Just thanks for joining us.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. And I think you guys are doing a great job of promoting the Sunbelt. I know us coaches, especially me, really appreciate, all the work that you guys are doing, social media, with shows like this, just to promote our league, because I think our league is one of the best leagues in the country. And so I really appreciate your all's effort and certainly have me on and look forward to, doing it another time. Absolutely.
Certainly best of luck as we get close to tip off here. For those watching and listening, be sure to check out sunbeltsyndicate.com. Mr. Zach Capps himself has done a lot of the heavy lifting, and he's getting you prepped and ready for not just App State basketball, but for the entirety of the league. A couple other writers sprinkled in there as well. But we're going to pick up coverage hot and heavy here and get everybody ready for basketball season. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.